Welcome back to Football Daily. Here are our predictions for the next decade. 10. We won't see a first-time UCL winner. Okay, we have to start this section with a big caveat, except Man City or PSG. The state-funded oil clubs are already at the summit of the European game and are certain to stay there thanks to their talent pipelines and smart player and coach recruitment, which gives them a shot every season. But beyond them, it's hard to see who could break into the sports elite. Atletico Madrid seem increasingly likely to have their best days under Diego Simeone, while rich capital clubs like Arsenal and Tottenham have years of investment ahead of them before they'll realistically challenge at the top. And after those, it's hard to see who would have the financial clout to become knockout regulars, let alone winners. RB Leipzig are perhaps the most interesting dark horses, but while Julian Nagelsmann has the Red Bulls flying and could even deliver an unlikely title to East Germany, he will surely be on the move within 3 years, and the team is still likely to be robbed of its best talent every summer, a fact of life for every overachieving mid-table side too. After the 2018-19 season saw some claim that Ajax's success would herald a new and unpredictable era in European football, the 2019-20 Champions League heads into the round of 16 without a single team from outside the top 5 leagues. Sadly, in football as in politics, the aristocrats continue to come out on top. 9. TV viewing will change completely. As more and more broadcasters compete for rights to show football, especially the Premier League, we're yet to see significant improvements in the footage itself. Most organisations think the best way to better their coverage is to spend more on pundits, and while Amazon are pioneering the customisable football experience with fan noise instead of commentary, for example, the consumer is often forgotten. That is set to change this decade, and broadcasters will look for ways to get closer to the action on the pitch than ever before. Tactical cams and the Sky Cam on a zipline have taken us forward, but can it really be long before we see drones hovering above the penalty area at corners or following sweeping counter-attacks upfield? And who knows if it would even stop there? With players now wearing vests and boots with tracking capability, we could see clubs fit them with head cams or even smart contact lenses, allowing better data collection for team analysis and an unprecedented window into top-level sports for the viewer. As football generates more money than ever before, fans will surely start to ask why the product they consume has not improved. And with streaming still a global problem, it's time for corporations to show what they have to offer. 8. Technology will transform the sport. This may sound a lot like number 9, but here we're talking about technology used in the game itself, and we're already seeing innovation have an effect. The Premier League's adoption of VAR has irritated fans, players and coaches with its delays and reversals, but it has also sparked controversy over what exactly offside should mean, with the result that any refinement of the system is likely also to require an update of the rules of the game. Without the ability to perfectly pinpoint the moment the ball leaves a player's foot, it will always be impossible to judge narrow offsides with 100% confidence, while debate over what constitutes a goal-scoring body part is similarly tough to settle. And now VAR is in, its presence is more likely to grow rather than shrink. We could see Hawkeye cameras on touchlines to determine when the ball actually goes out for a throw or corner, or even smart footballs and boots which could decide who got the final touch. As the kinks of VAR are ironed out, it will become harder than ever to argue against the march of progress, and we will gradually move towards a more accurate and ultimately fairer game. 7. The top 6 will stay the top 6. Every year we discuss which small teams could break into the top 4, and this season it looks like Leicester might bring Champions League football to the Midlands again. But while the Foxes' success is well deserved thanks to the brilliant squad building done by their backroom staff, it will be just their second appearance in the top 4 in 5 years, and just the second time any team outside the Big Six has made the UCL in the last decade. Though Arsenal, Man United and Tottenham all sacked managers and endured crises in 2019, what separates them from the rest of the division is their ability to make money year on year. In the most recent accounts, Leicester had a yearly turnover of £160 million with a profit of £2 million. By comparison, Spurs made £380 million, Arsenal made £400 million and United were close to £600 million, meaning that even if they have a disaster season and drop out of European competition, they can muster the resources to try again the following campaign. Meanwhile, Leicester, having won the title in 2016, immediately lost N'Golo Kante and saw Danny Drinkwater and Riyad Mahrez depart within the following 2 years. While teams like Leicester and Wolves have more financial power than ever before, they will always struggle to retain their best players and compete with their more prestigious rivals in the long term. With that in mind, it's almost certain that in 2030, the biggest teams in the country will be the same as they are right now. 6. The European Super League won't happen. First floated in the 1990s, the European Super League is an idea which has plagued the game for many years. Originally seen as a way to improve revenue for all of the continent's major teams, it has since become an anti-Premier League movement, with Bayern Munich in particular advocating the plan as a way for the rest of Europe's top divisions to achieve parity with their richer English cousins. Back in 2009, Arsene Wenger predicted that the Super League would become a reality within a decade. But thankfully he was wrong, and we're predicting another 10 years won't move the idea forward either. The main reason is simply that the Premier League would never agree to it, with their obscene TV rights deal flooding the country with money, while the success of English clubs in the Champions League makes the timing even worse, especially as a brand new competition could never match the prestige of the UCL's 60-year history. But perhaps most importantly of all, fans despise the idea. With Real Madrid supporters pulling out the white hankies when their team is drawing at home, how would they react if a tougher fixture list saw Los Blancos lose half of their games? Watching super clubs become mid-table teams is never going to entice widespread support, and for that reason, the European Super League will never happen. 5. One of the world's best footballers will come out. Despite its global popularity and power to bring people together in a common aim, men's football is still failing to overcome the prejudices which have long afflicted it. Misogyny, racism and violence are all continuing parts of the sport, and homophobia is still only addressed with minor displays of solidarity, like the Rainbow Laces campaign, rather than tackled more directly. As a result, there are just 3 openly gay men currently playing in world football, and in the history of the game, only 5 have been out while active in the sport. Given that estimates place the LGBT population at between 4 and 10% of the total, we'd expect there to be 15 to 30 gay or bisexual men in the Premier League alone. And while there are significant barriers to coming out, with many clubs and sponsors fearful of fan reaction to a gay player, greater social awareness of the issue means that surely it can't be long before someone breaks the silence. Once one brave person is prepared to do so, others will follow, and the game will be forced to confront some of its failures. Just as with racism, it will be a long process to get where we need to go, but perhaps by 2030, we'll have seen an out man lift the Ballon d'Or. And if you want to see more discussion on homophobia in football, why not click the link to Doogie's one-on-one on Eurofootball Daily. 4. Pep Guardiola will return to Barcelona. With his City contract ending in 2021, speculation about the future of football's best coach is set to reach fever pitch. Pep Guardiola has won 8 titles in 3 different countries as well as 2 Champions Leagues, but Liverpool's ascent to the summit of the Prem has coincided with a string of disappointments at the Etihad. From missed transfer targets to key players ageing out to the departure of trusted lieutenant Mikel Arteta. Of course, Guardiola could leave Manchester and move into international coaching, with Dani Alves previously claiming that Pep had offered his services to Brazil for the 2014 World Cup. But his perfectionism and need for control seem unlikely to be satisfied by the stop-start nature of international football, and his loyalty to Catalonia means that the Spanish FA probably won't come calling soon. So we reckon Pep will remain in club football for the time being, with a move to Italy or PSG marginally less enticing than a return to Spain with Barcelona. Short of a single season with Luis Enrique, followed swiftly by a Messi divorce, the Blaugrana have failed to find the right heir to Pep since he left, gradually losing their reputation for exciting idealistic play thanks to dull pragmatists like Tata Martino and Ernesto Valverde. What better way to re-establish themselves at the top and make the most of Messi's final years than to bring back the man who gave him to the world? 3. Smaller leagues will band together. As we saw in our first section, clubs from smaller leagues are less capable of competing with bigger sides than ever before. Red Bull Salzburg have won 6 consecutive titles in Austria but still couldn't get out of the Champions League group stage, while Bate Borisov are perennial European whipping boys, despite winning the Bulgarian league every year between 2006 and 2018. So in order to push on, these clubs need to find ways to generate more money and better wages. While Everton's financial might allowed them to attract Carlo Ancelotti with £11.5 million a year while they sat 17th in the Prem, historic sides like Ajax have to sell to balance the books. So we predict that some smaller leagues may merge over the next decade, giving them larger audiences and more prize money. While Greece and Turkey or the Balkan nations are unlikely to find a workable solution, a Scandinavian league could be a smart idea, as could an amalgamated Belgian and Dutch division, allowing teams like Ajax, PSV and Genk to acquire talent from across one of the most fertile breeding grounds in the sport and expand their reach beyond their own provincial markets. Would this help a club like Ajax claim their 5th European crown? Maybe not. But if it stops the top 5 leagues from pulling further away from the continent which allowed them to flourish, we're in favour. 2. England will win a major tournament. With every generation, England fans are told that they're on the verge of something special. But heading into 2020, for the first time since 2002, it may well be true. At the time of recording, the England squad is ranked 4th in the world, outstripping established superpowers like Spain, Germany and Argentina, with only Belgium, France and Brazil ahead. And encouragingly, the squad is also extremely young, with the average age at the 2018 World Cup just 26 years old, 1.6 years younger than Belgium and 2.6 below Brazil. Since then, Jadon Sancho and Tammy Abraham have emerged to supplement the front line, while the development of Mason Mount, James Maddison and especially Ben Chilwell has addressed the weakest areas of the side at the tournament in Russia. Raheem Sterling has become one of the world's very best players under Pep Guardiola, and while Harry Kane's mobility is not what it was, he remains a lethal finisher, with Abraham, Rashford and even Callum Hudson-Odoi available as alternatives if Southgate wants to experiment. The last holes are at centre-back and defensive midfield, positions which could well be filled by Declan Rice and Fikayo Tomori in the long term. In fact, you could argue that only France has better young talent than the Three Lions, and so we're backing the team to end its half-century trophy drought before the decade is out. 1. Mbappé will not equal Messi and Ronaldo. Becoming a football icon is not just about talent, and it's not even about hard work. A massive part is luck, getting noticed as a kid, getting chances in the first team, and staying fit when it matters. Arguably the only injury-prone player counted among the game's all-time greats is the Brazilian Ronaldo, and even he can't be spoken about without the conversation turning to what he might have achieved with better fitness. So perhaps the most underrated part of Messi and Ronaldo's greatness is their ability to stay fit while turning in performances at the limit of human athleticism. The Argentinian has not sat out more than 9 consecutive games with injury since 2007 when he broke his metatarsal, while Ronaldo's longest absence came after he fractured a kneecap in 2008 and missed 11 matches. With that in mind, it seems unlikely that Kylian Mbappé will be able to equal their insane goal tallies unless he gets just as lucky with his fitness. A long shot given that his pace and trickery often see him taken out by desperate defenders. In fact, since his breakthrough in 2016, Mbappé has missed 18 games through injury, more than Ronaldo in the same period, despite the 13-year age gap between the two. So while the Frenchman could well end his career as one of the best forwards ever, we're betting that he won't end the next decade as the equal of the 2 stars of the last one. So those were our 10 predictions for the next decade. I know a few spicy ones in there, so let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, why not click on screen right now, as I'm sure it's a banger. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later.